Good morning, Judge Kopp. Thank you for sitting with us. What is Proposition I?
Proposition I is a ballot measure. It's not a voter's initiative. The reason Proposition I is on the ballot is our charter permits 4 or more supervisors all by themselves to put something on a ballot. And in this instance, 5 out of 11 supervisors put Proposition I on the ballot after Proposition H, which is a genuine voters initiative, which qualified for the ballot with about 15,000 voter signatures, San Francisco voters. Proposition I was put on the ballot at the virtual last minute in terms of eligibility for the November 4th election by 5 supervisors to subvert Proposition H and to undermine it. It's a deceptive and detestable technique by City Hall to undermine a true voter people's initiative, which very simply says no artificial turf in the western side of Golden Gate Park and no nighttime lighting from dusk until 10 p.m. on the western side of Golden Gate Park, which destroys the naturalistic atmosphere and environment historically.
The proponents of Prop I say that the only thing Prop I will do is to help projects to be built and that no one's rights are going to be infringed upon. What is your response to that?
Rights will be infringed. Proposition I, literally, in its core provision, enables the Rec and Park Department, doesn't even mention the Recreation and Park Commission, much less the Board of Supervisors, to effectuate any kinds of projects that it wants, assuming an EIR is approved, an environmental impact report, which of course first will be approved by the staff itself. It takes away the rights, if you read it, literally, of citizens to put together their own initiative under provisions of the Charter and the Constitution of the state of California. It probably is illegal in that respect, but that's what Proposition I does. It was put on the ballot as a trick, a poison pill to overcome Proposition H, because it says that if Proposition I gets more votes than Proposition H, then Proposition I prevails. So it obliterates a true citizen initiative, and that's why I vote yes on Proposition H and no on Proposition I, and that's why I recommend all San Francisco voters do the same.
The proponents of Prop I say that Golden Gate Park has to change with the times. What do you feel about that?
Why does it have to change in terms of its naturalistic setting? In about 1991, 1992, San Francisco's general plan was adopted, and part of that general plan mandates and directs that the western part of Golden Gate Park remain a natural setting without artificial accoutrements or disturbance of the greenery. This is pertinent to the beach chalet and the neighborhood around the beach chalet. That's why we have grass. That's why we have trees. You don't change that. That's part of the history of Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, going back to John McLaren, who really formulated and put together the park, and William Hand, who was responsible primarily for the landscaping and those gorgeous trees. Proposition I would enable the city to destroy at least 55 trees. It would enable the city to destroy about 7 acres of grass and replace it with artificial turf, which is so injurious that the professional women's soccer players of the United States have hired a lawyer to stop the use of artificial turf in Canada for the Women's Soccer World Cup in 2015. In addition, Proposition I would enable the Recreation and Park Department to put in about an acre of concrete paving and build a grandstand to seat about 1,000 people, and to put on and in lighting that would run until 10 o'clock at night. That's not for children. That's for adults and adult soccer leagues, which will pay the department money. Proposition A involves money when you get to the basic and the predicate of Proposition I. It destroys the green nature of the western part of the park, not the east park, which has the museums and it has the tea gardens, it has the grand concourse, it has a garage underground. The western part of the park is forested in effect. Let's keep it by voting no on Proposition I and approving Proposition H, which has the effect of keeping it as it is.
The proponents of Prop I say that artificial turf will save water. Everybody's concerned about that in this time of drought. What do you feel about this argument?
It's nonsense. The watering of the soccer fields, the grass soccer fields, near the beach chalet and Golden Gate Park, comes from the aquifer of Golden Gate Park. There's no loss of water. That water is restored to the aquifer. To the contrary, artificial turf, which is built on rubber, basically, contains toxic substances. And water on that kind of turf has to be disposed of. It'll cost taxpayers money to dispose of that kind of waste. There's no waste now with aquifer water from Golden Gate Park being used to water grass soccer fields.
The proponents of Prop I say that the city doesn't have the funds to build playgrounds and other new facilities, and that Prop I will help renovate playgrounds, playing fields, and walking trails. What do you say about that?
There's no money provided in Proposition I. There isn't a single reference to money. In fact, there isn't even any reference to what the bureaucrats want to do in the western part of Golden Gate Park. It's a trick on voters. There's no money in there. The money that would be used otherwise, if it wasn't for the qualification of Proposition H for the November 4th ballot, can be used for soccer fields in places already mentioned. The Crocker Amazon, North Beach, Visitation Valley, south of Market. Apply the money there and benefit people who don't have park facilities, which include soccer fields of the dimension that Proposition I would otherwise enable if we don't defeat it.